Alright, I figure it's time to throw something else back up here. Um, this one is not actually going to be an example, but more of a demo of some stuff that you can do with neural networks. This is actually a little project I did, I don't know how long ago, back in high school. But let me open that up. This is just a little, it's called Physics version 2.0, because I was super nerdy back then. Um, And what it really is the following. Let me go ahead and just do this. Alright, so what you should see is hopefully a ball sitting on top of a fulcrum. And really what I was trying to do with this is make a neural network that's going to learn how to balance a ball and bring it back to the center. So this has a bunch of different parameters, and another cool thing it does is it displays the network in real time. So I can do stuff like this. You'll see that the nodes change colors between green and red depending on what their value is. So if I move it over here, you can see the colors, right, for the input. This is position, this is velocity down here at the bottom. I can increase the velocity, so that's green. I can decrease the velocity, so that's red. And the output over here on the right side is the angle, right? So there's red, it's going negative. There's green, it's going positive. Okay. So let me go ahead and restart this so we can do that over again. Like that. Okay. So how do you use this thing? Well, this thing's hard-coded to be a 3-layer network. So all you can do before you click create is pick the size of the hidden layer. So let's go ahead and pick 2, create. Alright, and you'll see this is just a basic network that it created. The weights are totally random. Okay, so this button right here is pause. I'll pause it real quick. I'll put it back in the center. Like I mentioned before, this upper node here is the position left to right. And you'll notice as I move my cursor around, the values up here in the bar are changing. Px is the position, right? So if I move off to the left, it goes all the way out to -10, right? And so if I click there, it'll place the ball at that position, okay? That makes sense? As I move vertically, you'll see the Vx values increase up to 10 when I go up and decrease, well, this is because I was a noob. They don't do anything inside the box, but they decrease down to -10, right, if you move down to the bottom. And what that does is it lets me set the velocity. So if I put the position here at 0, 0, and I move this up to 10, then what's happening is you can see this node here is bright green, so it's actually speeding off to the right now. If I click down here near the center, it is moving off to the left, right? And so that's indicated by the red here. Now as I move around, what this does is it will dynamically update the colors of all the nodes based on their output. And so once it's trained, you can run it and see visually what's going on. Also, you can click this and it spits out the weights once everything is trained, and that's it. So let me click train here for a second, just like that. So I literally almost double clicked it because it doesn't take very long for this thing to get trained. It's a very small network. So let's go ahead and just put it over here. All right, well that rolled it back, it slowly balanced it. Let's put it over here, rolled it forward, slowly balanced it. I could zoom it off. I think it will come back eventually. Whoa, there it goes. Okay, so maybe we should train that a little bit more because that's not quite fast enough. Train. All right. So now what happens? Oh, that's a little bit better. Now I'm not sure how this is going to look with the frame rate that we're going to get in this video. So this SM will move us into slow motion. Right? So now when I click it, it goes slower. SSM is super slow motion. So if I click it now, I can actually watch it go very, very slowly. So what I can do is I can just place it off to the right. And I've literally sat here and just played with this for hours and hours and hours to watch the colors here alter. Also, this little pipe greater than symbol is a play button. So if I click that, it goes to pause. And what that lets me do is place it, pause. It lets me place it somewhere with a specific velocity, and I can just look at what the network's doing. I can also click and drag and see what the network is going to do. So for example, what should be happening is when I let this go, if I'm over here like this, is I've actually set this to have a velocity to the right, but a position to the left. So as it gets closer, this should actually switch into a positive slope scenario because it should be trying to slow the ball down to catch it. And you can see that it's moving quickly. Oh, I'm sorry, I think this is position. Yeah, so this is the position over here, and it's moving quickly to the right as shown here in green. So when we click play, you should be able to see these values turn into this nice mud brown color when it gets into the center. And that's it. So it's cool because you can see the activation on the hidden layer nodes and how they ultimately affect the output. What I wish I would have done when I created this was colored these connections here so that you can see how strong the signal is that's coming out, not just the output of the node. But I did not. This was actually written back in Visual Basic 6 maybe. So it's well, for one thing, I wasn't that good back then. As you can see, there are scenarios where you can get it to draw. Let's see if I can get I think there's a couple, like you can see the ball kind of dips underneath here, but whatever, I wasn't really worried about it. Anyway, so I don't have the code for this. It's long since disappeared, but I just built a new computer here, and that's part of the reason it's been such a long time, but I found it in the process of moving all my files back, and I had forgotten that I did this. So anyway, it's kind of a cool little thing you can play with. I highly recommend grabbing it and putting it in super slow motion. And you can create different kinds of networks. Let me close that and let's do another one. Here's the problem, there's no reset button. You have to close it and restart it. So let's say we create one with 5. So this one has 5 nodes in the center, right? So let's train it. And boop. So let's go to super slow motion. And let's say we zoom it off to the right. From the right, now you can see all of the nodes here doing their computation. Right, which is kind of neat. I like to be able to see it go red and then bright green. You can see it fade between red and green, which I like particularly because this really is a completely continuous model, and it should be nice and smooth when it moves like this. Now another thing, the function that it's actually fitting, I just kind of made up, and if I let this just play, it's pretty good. It'll stop it, but if I train this for a long time like that, it'll become overtrained because my algorithm actually wasn't that good. I just kind of guessed, and I believe, yeah, you see how it goes really, really extreme right there? It doesn't actually slow it down so well, and it's because the algorithm I used I was just guessing. Let me put this here. But this will accentuate all of the colors. You can see the output here. And so it's actually another example of overfitting the data because all of this back and forth motion is completely excessive and unnecessary. And that's because my training algorithm that it's trying to fit is not the best. I just sort of guessed at it, which is actually kind of interesting because if you fit it a little bit, it works better than if you train it for a long time and fit it too well because the algorithm isn't particularly awesome. Let's see what else is on here. You can click randomize position, which will just drop the ball somewhere like that, put it over to the left. This, put it over to the left again. That was a little bit farther. Okay, apparently it likes to go to the left side a lot. Oh, there's one to the right. You can also randomize the velocity. That'll nudge it one direction or the other without changing the position. Right, so if you don't feel like clicking around, you can just nudge it like that. But I do particularly like these large networks because you can do cool stuff, right? I can drag it over here with no velocity, simply position, and you can see how position is directly affecting the output of these nodes. These are basically shut down. These ones are on quite a bit. If I move it off to the right with basically no speed, this thing is on. These are on. Those are all basically shut down. Excuse me. Now if I position it in the center and increase the speed, right, this guy's on. This one is on a little bit. Those two are essentially off, right? So based on velocity, these nodes are sort of grouped differently, which I'm sure would come out if we looked at the weights. Ta-da! So this will actually spit them out. And similarly, if I move this off negative, right, these two are essentially on. This one is fairly off. Those two are kind of neutral, right? And then you can sort of blend the two values like that. And so this was very helpful as a visualization tool for me to kind of see, you know, how these things actually work. And anyway, I think it's kind of cool. So unfortunately, the code has long since disappeared. I have no idea what happened to it. If I find it, I'll post it because, I mean, why not? But what I will do is I'll zip up this exe and I'll put it up so you can download it if you want to play with it. And let me know what you guys think. I think hopefully this weekend I'll be able to crank out a couple more videos. I have the code in place on my version that I test before I try and make the tutorials. That is the beginning of our training class. So it's been working pretty well for me so far. And I think it's to a point where we can certainly start making some videos. We can have data sets that load and save to XML and all that kind of good stuff. All right, so let me close that. Bonus points if you can tell me where this is, because that was the vacation I took. Anyway, I will put this executable up and hopefully you guys dig it. See you soon. Later.